If an existing tenant wants to lease a rental unit to a new tenant, a sublease agreement is drawn up. This arrangement can be beneficial if the original tenant doesn't want to forfeit their security deposit by breaking up the lease too soon. However, when building your own Florida sublease agreement, you must abide by Florida laws and obtain written permission from the landlord to enter into this type of agreement. In this video, we will provide you with all the information you need to create your sublease agreement. Sublease Agreement. Sublease agreements are legal documents detailing the terms and condition of the lease of a property to a new tenant. It is an agreement between the original tenant or sublessor and a subleasee or a new renter that may only apply if the original lease agreement doesn't prohibit it. In addition to acting like a landlord by charging rent and holding them accountable for any violations of the sublease agreement, the sublessor still has an obligation to fulfill the conditions of the original lease agreement. The terms of the master rental agreement will determine if a sublease is allowed, as Florida law does not expressly forbid or prohibit them. Moreover, the provisions of the initial lease agreement shall apply to any agreement between the original renter and the subleasee. The initial tenant is still liable to the landlord for the premises under the terms of the original lease. Sublessors are also responsible for any contract breach resulting from any subleasee's violation of the conditions of their sublease agreement that affects the original lease. What to include? Your Florida sublease agreement should contain the following information: the names, addresses, and contact details of the sublessor and subleasee, a description of the rental property information about the monthly rent, including the amount and when the new tenant will be expected to pay rent, the start and end date of the contract, responsibilities concerning utilities, terms of the agreement, a copy of the original lease or a description of the terms, consent from the landlord, Florida laws that apply, a section for signatures. So, how do you write one? You might feel a little overwhelmed if this is your first time drawing up a Florida lease agreement. The good news is that we've developed a short guide to help you, so let's break it down. Check the original lease agreement. If the landlord permits subletting, more information about it may be found in your contract. Before you sublet a rental unit, it is important to find out if you need to get their consent. Send a written request for permission to sublet. Even though state laws govern lease-related regulations, they do not include any provisions for subletting leased properties. You should send the letter requesting the landlord's approval via certified mail and allow time for their response before signing a sublease agreement, because the landlord makes the decisions independently. Do a background check on the potential tenant. If the subleasee doesn't fulfill the landlord's requirements, he or she has the right to reject your request for subletting. This is why it is essential to find out more about the prospective subtenant and determine if the landlord has any grounds to reject them. You can do this by running a credit check and looking at their criminal and eviction history. And as a little helpful tip, use DoorLoop's background check tool to learn more about a potential subleasee. Drawing up the agreement. Follow the steps here. Name the parties involved and obtain contact details if you don't already have them. Write down the rental and security deposit amount. Provide more information about the utility cost. Attach a copy of the lease or include the relevant terms. List terms that do not appear in the original lease. Add a section for the landlord to provide written consent. Sign and date the document. Special laws. Consult your original lease if you want to know whether you can sublet your rental property. In Florida, the sublessor is advised to obtain written consent from their landlord before subletting a property. As mentioned before, you will be responsible for the subtenant and liable for any violations of the original lease. Moreover, the original tenant must abide by all Florida statutes governing eviction, the security deposit, and any other landlord-tenant issues. Here are some of the landlord-tenant laws you will have to abide by as a sublessor. Provide a subtenant with a written 3-day notice to pay the rent or vacate the property. Refund the security deposit within 15 days following the sublease's expiration, or within 30 days if a claim is made against the deposit, along with a return receipt. Laws pertaining to the renewal of a sublease agreement. Suppose you intend not to renew a Florida sublease agreement. In that case, you will need to provide written notice. Keep in mind that the number of days of written notice you must provide will depend on when the rent is paid. Weekly rental payments, 7 days notice, monthly payments, 15 days notice, quarterly rental payments, 30 days notice, and yearly payments, 60-day notice. Sublessors. As the original tenant of the facility, the sublessor has a duty to uphold and abide by all terms and conditions outlined in the original lease, including ensuring that the rent is paid on time. However, before subletting a home, the sublessor must properly examine the subleasee and ensure they have the resources to make their payments on time. As a sublessor, you also have the responsibility to obtain consent from the landlord to sublet a property, return the security deposit within 15 days of the end date of the sublease agreement or from the date the subleasee moves out, provide appropriate notice if you decide to not renew the contract, follow the correct eviction process, and give the subtenant sufficient notice to vacate the property or pay rent. Building your own. When it's time to put pen to paper and create a sublease agreement, you have a number of options. We offer a free sublease agreement template here at DoorLoop to help you out. You can find them in the description box below. However, if you need additional personalization, you can also use DoorLoop's innovative editing tool with an autofill feature to generate flawless rental documents quickly and easily. DoorLoop was created in response to a growing need for a platform to help manage rental businesses. You can use the software to run background checks, create professional leases, and track rental payments on one amazing intuitive platform. To see it work for yourself, you can schedule a free demo, which will also be linked in the description box below. eSignature. Lease signing is your biggest opportunity to lay the foundation for a pleasant tenant experience, and that relies on making the process as easy and efficient as possible. With DoorLoop, you can also get your subleases e-signed in a few seconds. You can also get to the e-signature step much more easily by creating reusable sublease templates that are auto-filled with tenants' information. DoorLoop also makes it so simple to find the best tenants in the first place by syndicating your listings on popular websites such as Zillow, Trulia, HotPads, Apartments.com, and so much more. You can also make sure you're bringing in the best tenants by screening your prospects in seconds through DoorLoop, which is pretty amazing. So now that you are armed with the correct information and all the tools you need, you are ready to create your very own Florida sublease agreement. You can use DoorLoop's property management software to generate sublease agreements, run your background checks, post listings, and so much more. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more helpful videos just like this one on property management. We hope to see you in the next one.